This is a complete full home workout guide that got me through my high school period, which gave me a great foundation for strength and muscle without wasting much time. In this video, I'll be covering how the workout itself is structured and how we can implement it, reiterate it, so that it makes us fit for our daily lives. Because I understand that we all have our responsibilities, our things that we want to do in our life. So I have structured this program in a sense that we can reiterate it, right? And then we can also change it in slight variations to keep us motivated, to keep us exciting for the next session. And number two is going to be the workout itself. So the workout in that section, I'm going to be showing you the precise exercise selection, training frequency, volume, intensity, everything that I have fine-tuned myself, which give me the most amount of gains, and which I believe it's also a proven method, a proven way of getting your gains as fast as you can. Not much, sorry. Um, and number three is going to be the mistakes that I've made. So throughout my fitness journey, for the first year, I was training at home, like I've told you guys in previous videos, and um, I have made a lot of mistakes. These mistakes really hindered me throughout my progress. It really slowed me down, damped me. But I'm going to share these with you so that you can avoid them and hopefully make even better progress. Because I want you to not waste your time for 6 months without any progress and just feeling like shit afterwards, right? So I don't want you to go through that time. And then the fourth section of this video is going to be about nutritional advice that I have implemented myself, which I find most success in terms of sustainability and also in terms of muscle growth. So without further ado, let's get into the video. How the workout is structured and how we can program it. So the main idea behind my workout is that I prioritize movement than muscle, right? So as this guide is going to be a comprehensive guide for beginners, um, I have programmed it in a sense that you can focus on mastering the techniques, which then is going to be more beneficial for the long term instead of just trying to build muscle, right? And the second point is that I have created in a sense of intensity and frequency matches together, giving that perfect balance of not overdoing or underdoing in some sense. And I'm going to go a little bit deeper onto the evidence on why I choose this amount of frequency and intensity. But I didn't put much volume in there because I don't want to do junk volume, which is mentioned in four. No junk volume, no wasting time. But then again, give you that enough stimulus to foster growth in both strength and muscle. And the third one is the workout. It can be reiterated in a sense that fits your schedule. Because I know students like you, even like me, I have to reschedule my workouts like week by week because sometimes I might have class, I might have work, I might have other responsibilities, I might have to do my laundry, I might have to clean my room, right? All of these things kind of got into the way of our fitness journey. I know you can relate to that too. So I've created this program in the sense that you can iterate it that is best fit for your own needs. And I'm going to show you how you can iterate it. I'm going to walk you through the whole program and reiterate it myself as well. And the number four is the one that I've mentioned it above with number two, which is we can reduce the junk volume so that it doesn't tire us because the least thing that you want to have is an unproductive shit ton of work that you did which doesn't give any results as well. So, I don't want you to waste time with unnecessary stuff. So, junk volume is really, really reduced in this program as well. So, yeah. Mm. Damn, the coffee's strong. Shit. All right. So the workout itself, right? Uh, it, this is a quick brief of the workout. So I'm gonna explain you about the workout itself. The exercise selections that I've put through, and also I have and also the techniques, the tips, how to perform it, how to progress it. I'm going to explain that in a minute, and then after that we're going to go into a little bit of the foundation and structure on how the workout is programmed. So we're going to focus on frequency, volume, and intensity, and also we're going to give a little bit of a technical critique of it. I think technical critique is I'm going to be doing that while I show you and walk you through the workout itself. So let's get into it. I hope you guys can still see the file. So this is going to be a full body program. Wait, let me just make sure this is a little bit louder for you guys. Okay, here it is. This is going to be a full body program, so it's going to be done twice a week. That's why I say it's very time efficient as well, because you don't need to be in the gym all of the time. But if you have more time, you can go for it too. Full body twice a week. The length of each workout is about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, depending on your rest time. But it shouldn't go over 2 hours. But if you don't want to give 2 hours, but 2 hours per session, but you are able to do multiple days of the week for your fitness, that's good too. And I'm going to show you how to reiterate it. But for now, let's focus on this one. So for the full body program, we have uh, two pushing movements, two pulling movements, and two squatting movements. And then we're going to focus on the isolations, right? Um, so here we have the first exercise is going to be push, which is push-ups. Since this is a home workout program, I definitely choose push up because it is the classic. This is the exercise that every single person who is getting into fitness started. All right. So push ups is a fundamental pushing movement that everyone knows. And it has a lot of benefits to your shoulders, your triceps, your chest as well. There are multiple variations of push-ups. We have the incline push-ups, which is pretty much doing on a surface, elevated surface, which makes it a little bit easier. It focuses more on the lower part of the chest, so not on the upper part of the chest, but it still is an easier way, easier progression, easier regression, I shall say, for the push-up. And the decline push-up, on the other hand, is a harder but more effective pushing movement. The decline push-up is where you elevate your feet on a surface and then you push it from a down to from up to low angle. So it's going to be like a decline. You're going to push up on a decline. And the thing about decline push up, it hits your upper chest and your shoulders more compared to your triceps, which I think upper chest and shoulders are really important for your aesthetics as well. And the next version is of course, the regular push up. Regular push up is everything that everyone go to the most, which is also a solid foundation of it as well. Yeah, so these are the variations of the push-ups. If you can do the actual push-up, you can do the incline push-up. If you are too easy with the actual push-up, you can do the decline push-up as well. And the amount of reps that you will ideally want to perform is 4 sets of 10 reps. This is a very foundational rep range that most fitness influencers, most fitness trainers, they will recommend 4 sets of 10. um, 4 sets of 10 because 10 is a great number where you can hit hypertrophy, but then it isn't too much of a strenuous task as well that really pushes the nervous system. Because if you go lower than 6 reps, it's all about strength. It's all about not 6 reps. When you go lower than 4 reps, it's more about strength and central nervous system and all that kind of stuff, which is good. But your focus is going to be mastering the techniques. Your focus is going to be getting the muscle. So we do 10 reps is a perfect sweet spot of it, right? So here's a tip. When you're on the last set, we will want to do what's called a pause set, which is when you're going down on a push-up, instead of just exploding back up again, what you would want to do is you want to hold it there for a second or two, and then you want to explode up as fast or as strong as possible with maximum power, right? So doing that is going to milk out your hypertrophy because when you're on that bottom position, your muscle is at stretch. Stretch is where growth happens as well. So when you're stretching up, down, you're pausing there, and then you explode up, which explosion again is a retraction, which is very important for sports because when you're doing sports, when you're doing, let's say, boxing, throwing, American football, whatever you're doing, you're pushing, right? You're pushing. So when you're pushing back up with maximum power, that is when you are really using your muscle. So this is the last set is going to be, a little bit more of uh, a little bit fine tuned towards that technique to really milk out and to really focus on that part. If you cannot do 10, you can lower the rep range as well. I would recommend you do around 6 reps. You can lower down as far as 6 reps, but if you're going lower than 6 reps, I would recommend you just change the variation. So let's say you're doing decline push-ups, you can do 10. That's all right. You can do 6, but 6 with great form, great technique. um, but if you cannot do 6, I think it would be better for you to stick with the regular push-ups. And let's say sometimes the regular push-ups of 10 can be too easy for you. Then what you want to do is you can increase the rep, maybe 2 reps, 3 reps, whatnot. But again, this gives room for flexibility for it. The progression of it is going to be that you increase 1 to 2 reps every single week, given that you take care of your recovery and your meals, things like that. You should be able to increase your reps 1 reps to 2 reps. If you cannot, that's also fine. Just work with the reps that you're getting and really focusing on pausing and exploding back up on the last set, because that way you are training your body to work in a fatigue situation, because since it's at the last side, your muscle has already experienced stress from the first 2 sets, so it really trains your body to work through stress as well, which is a good thing that you should learn along the way of your fitness journey, especially you're doing sports and whatnot, right? So the second exercise is going to be a leg exercise, which is going to be a single squat variation. So single squat variation is basically when you are squatting with unilaterally with one leg, then the other, right? You're not going to do a bilateral squat, which is the average squat that we all know, but average squat is good, but it becomes too easy with your own body weight. So I would prefer you do a single leg squat, right? A single leg squat has many variations. We have these are my favorite ones. We have Bulgarian split squats. We have the skater squats. Many people don't know the skater squat because like it's very slept on, but I have made the most amount of hypertrophy gains with this guy, and my knees became bulletproof. So I would definitely recommend doing skater squats. Again, the pistol squat also give me the bulletproof um, ability of my knees, and also give me a great amount of strength, right? Again, you want to do it for 4 sets of 10. If you can do these variations, there's also a easier variations like lunges or lunges, reverse lunge, assisted skater squat, assisted pistol squat. Assisted basically mean you're holding onto something to move your stress away from the single leg and ease the stress away. But either way, variations again, you can choose whatever fits your level, and if it's too hard and to balance when you're doing unilaterally, again, use the assisted position. So you just hold on to something and do it, right? Again, for sets of 10 reps, you can lower down the rep range if you feel like it. Don't go lower than 6. If you're going lower than 6, go for an easier variation of it. And then, again, same things apply for the technique for the last set, go slow down, pause, explode up, go slow down, pause, explode up. And yeah, I mean, lowering the reps recommended for those who feel a little too difficult. Again, and then also 1 to 2 reps every single week. And after a few weeks, I'm pretty sure 1 to 2 reps won't do too much to your progression. And in that sense, at the last set, you would want to go to failure. Failure means that your body is not able to do a single rep any longer. So you can't do it anymore without breaking down your technique. So that's called a technical failure. So you want to do it up to that failure point. Number three is going to be a pull movement, which is going to be pull-ups. Pull-ups is again the single exercise that really blew my back out. Right, it gave me that thickness of the back as well as the width. Whatnot. It's an absolute banger that everyone should have. So pull-ups can be difficult. I can understand that. When I started doing pull-ups, I started with three pull-ups, I believe. It's not even pull-up, it's a chin-up. It's a chin-up where you use more of your biceps than your back. So you do pull-ups. I was only doing 3 reps, but then even with that 3 reps, I was making gains with it. So pull-ups is a absolute banger that everyone should do. Variations again, we have jumping negative pull-ups, right? You just check out the videos that I've included in the file, isometric pull-up pose, feet assisted pull-ups, and then actual pull-up itself, right? So these are the variations. If you feel like it's too difficult, regress. It's all right to regress, because you want to focus on technique. That goes back to the first point, technique, then the muscle. If you master the technique, you master you make growth. I believe Tom Platz once said, like, forget about the weight. It doesn't matter that you're squatting with one plate. Just focus on that technique. And once you get that techniques in, you are going to give that perfect muscle symmetry and muscle growth, right? I choose 4 sets of 5 because pull up in and of itself is a really hard mechanic that you have to master. So 5 reps is good. You can lower it down to 3 reps, but don't go lower than 3. If you're going lower than 3, choose these um, just choose these guys here. One thing about the isometric pull-up pose, isometric basically means you're just going there and then you're just holding there. You're not doing any reps, you're just holding there. So with that isometric thing, I would recommend you to count, like 5 seconds, 4 seconds of it, and then you just go down and complete it as 1 rep. So let's say you go up and you jump up to the pull-up bar, you hold it isometrically for 3 seconds, go down. That's 1 rep. Do the same thing again. It's 2 reps. Do the same thing again. 3 reps. Yeah, and then after that, you can do it for 4 sets with the same formula that you're doing, right? Again, don't go lower than 3. If you're just doing for 2 reps, 1 reps, I would recommend you just regress. And then and taking pauses in pull-ups is important, because when you're like this at this position and you pull yourself up and then you pause it and then you go down. Because pausing is super important, because at the top of the pull-up, you're at the squeeze, right? The squeeze is, I believe, what is important for the pull-up. So really do pause. And I would recommend you to do that pause pull-ups at the last set, because again, it can be very strenuous to your muscle as well. And since you could be a beginner, it's going to be a little bit harder. But even then, try to incorporate pauses in your reps. It's going to change your game. I'm telling you, progression. I would recommend you to focus more on form with the progression, right? And you can only, if it's okay if you can only even if you can only progress 1 reps after 2 weeks, that's already fine. But just make sure you master and dial in your technique. Technique is king, right? Technique is king for the pull-ups. And the fourth exercise is going to be dips, right? Dips have also variations like bench dips, bent leg dips, and then assisted dips and dips in and of itself. You can check these videos for the form and technical critique. We're going to do 4 sets of 8. We're not going to do 10 because dips can also be very hard. And for the tip of the last set, you will want to do the same thing as push-ups that you do with push-ups. But then again, the reps can be altered if you're a little bit, if you're not really strong enough, you can lower it down up to 4 reps, but don't go lower than 4. I'm telling you, don't go lower than 4. And by that point, it's just too stressful for your central nervous system and for your muscles. So if you can go lower than 4, just do these variations, bench dips, bent leg dips, assisted dips, whatnot, right? Do these guys and it will do you good. Exercise number 5 is going to be jump squats. Jump squats is super effective explosive movement. It's a plyometric that you will call. Plyometric is basically a fancy term for explosive movements. And I would recommend you to do 4 sets of 10. I don't have any variation because jump squats is a bilateral squat with a jump at the top, so it's pretty relatively easy. You can even add weights if you like. You can hold a bag of books with it. Everything you would love to do that. You're allowed to do that. And then with the tip again, in the last set, really slow down when you squat down, and then when you're going back up, explode up with maximum effort. So that would mean like you literally jump as high as possible on the way up, right? And then the progression is going to be that you would try to increase 2 reps for each week, because legs can progress faster than your upper body. That's what I've learned throughout my time, except for deadlifts, right? That's a different topic. But if you are feeling strong each week, I would recommend you to just go towards increase your reps as much as you can. My ideal range will be 2 reps per week in increments. But if you can do 3 reps, go for it. It's never too much, right? It's never too much. Number 6 is going to be bodyweight rows. Bodyweight rows is again a pulling movement. So here, I believe you're noticing the pattern, like push, pull, leg, push, pull, leg, right? Same pattern of movements that are done each with each segment of the workout. And then again, this is going to be body weight rows. Rows is going to be that you would be in a almost a horizontal position, and you just roll yourself up. So body weight rows is super important for the thickness of the back. I used to do body weight rows as well. It really gave me a foundation of my back. And once I stepped into the gym, I was able to actually use the barbell row more efficiently because of these body weight rows that I have done, right? Again, you want to do 4 sets of 8 reps. This is the same amount of rep range, the same with dips, um, because sometimes it might be too difficult for you to go up to 10 reps. So I just put it 8, but if you can do 10, go for 10. But then again, you would have to focus on your form for progression, and it can be a little bit harder to progress compared to other exercises. So 1 rep per week, just like the pull-up, would be the perfect progression, right? And then for the last set for hypertrophy, again, you will want to slow down on the way on the first portion on the pull, and then sorry, if you are let's say if you are going down, you're going to go slow, and then you're going to pull back up as fast as possible. So it's going to be explosive, the same thing that you did with push-ups, right? So lateral raise again. These three are the isolation that I've put. This is the lateral raise. Lateral raise is where you hold a weight and then you raise your shoulder to hit the parts of the shoulder. This is the portion that you will need weights. I'm not gonna shit you and say you don't need weights for home workout. You do need weights, but it doesn't have to be a physical dumbbell. You can just put a bunch of books in the bag and you can do it. I used to do that as well, and it worked really well. So the lateral raise, 4 sets of 15, right? 15 is a new number in this list, right? But 15, I choose 15 because lateral raise is again, technically hard movement. So that would mean that it will be harder to do that movement compared to other movements because you're extending your arm and you're using the shoulder joint to move the weight. So it's very, it's a, not, I don't want to use the word risky, but it's a very techie movement that you will have to be you will have to be careful with. That's why I use a little bit more of a higher rep and a lighter weight. So you wouldn't want to do 10 reps with the weight, but then you will want to do 15. Just milk out the amount of reps that you can do. And for tip of the exercise is that you will want to do up to failure. So I'll include a video up somewhere on the screen, but when you do go to the failures, you, even if you can't go all the way up, you just go halfways, baby reps that Tom Platz would call, like, you want to go halfway until you cannot raise your hand up anymore, which could be, of course, over 15 reps. It doesn't matter. But I will only want you to do that in the last set, not the whole of the set, right? Not all four, but only at the last set you do to failure. And progression again, 1 to 2 reps each week should be a sweet spot, and you can progress more if you would like, but I will only recommend 1 to 2 reps each week. The next exercise is the goated bicep curls, right? Bicep curls are absolutely amazing. You would need to have biceps. Don't make the same mistake of ditching the ditching the isolation work, because when I started training, I did not do any isolation, and that's why my arms were super small. But that's besides the point. You have to do bicep curls because it again helps you with biceps, which is a accessory muscle that helps you with pulling. So if you want to get strong pull-ups, rows, you would have to have a strong biceps. Again, 4 sets of 12 reps. 12 reps is also a good amount of range. Since it's an isolation, you don't want to go too low, like 5, 6. Then it's not productive to do that. But 12 reps I found is a sweet spot. And the tip for it is you can go beyond 12 reps until you can physically anymore, which is basically like you can pretty much go to failure and with the exercise. And the fun part about it is that you will pretty much recover from that as fast as possible. Like biceps is a small muscle group, so it recovers really quick. So just go to failure as much as you can. Tricep extension, on the other hand, is pretty much the same, but I wouldn't recommend you do that every single set. You can do it 2 sets out of 4 sets, or you can even do it at the last of the 4 sets. But then going to failure, I would recommend doing that. It's a going to failure is a great way of really like stimulating growth. And then progression again, 2 to 3 reps per week. If you can do more, go for it, right? So this is the program itself. This is just without the nerdy stuff on the bottom. This is the program itself. You can just follow these guys, take a screenshot of it, or I will include the workout whole file in the description so you guys can check it out. Um, so let's talk about the iteration part. Iterations for day 2. So iterations, you can pretty much change the exercises. So from decline push-ups to pike push-ups. I'll include a exercise description of it, how to do the exercise, pike push-ups, because it's the same movement pattern on an incline off a push, but it just targets the shoulders in a different way. Jump squats into knee tuck jumps, again, same movement, but target differently at the last part. Body weight rows, rear delt reverse rear delt flies, which is a really good exercise for your rear delts. Which is the back part of your shoulder, which really is a aesthetic part of your body as well. This is a total change compared to these two, because this two is just iteration, but this is a complete different exercise. But again, I think it's important to incorporate these things because you would want to give your physique a fuller look. So yeah, this is the whole home workout that you guys can pretty much follow, right? So let's move on to the reiteration part. So I'm going to show you how you can reiterate it. This is going to be quick, but let's say that you don't want to do twice a week, but you want to do a push pull leg routine. So we can do, let's say, push workout. We can pretty much do that. I'm gonna make it large. We're gonna change it to push workout, and then we're gonna start with decline push up. Oh, sorry. Why did I put an exclamation mark? Anyways, we're gonna do a decline push up, 4 sets of 10 here. So 4 sets of 10. That's gonna be push 1. The next push is going to be dips. Dips is going to be 4 sets of, how much did I put? 4 sets of 8. All right. Dips, 4 sets of 8. And then we're going to do tricep extensions. again, four sets of 12, I think. Yeah, four sets of 12. We did four sets of 12 for the tricep extension. And the last part is going to be lateral raise. Because again, I think shoulders are a important part of the physique as well. And I would love to incorporate shoulder movements as much as I can in the routine. So I did that. Let's do 15. Then voila, a push workout has been formed from the full body workout. And I'm guessing that is only going to take around 30 minutes maximum. Because, like, the whole workout itself is around 2 hours. But if you just do only four of these guys, it's going to be 30 minutes or even less than 30 minutes, right? The same thing we can do with pull. We can just handpick the pull movements. Pull ups. What's the rows? Rows, bicep curls, and then lateral raise or rear delt flies. Let's do a pull workout for you guys. Here it goes. Pull workout. So just make sure that we're gonna put a proper heading, right? This is a little thing that I have. 30 minutes max, and then we're gonna do a pull ups. Four sets of what much is it? Four sets of five. We are doing body weight. I'm sorry. Body weight rows. If I'm not wrong, it's four sets of eight. Four sets of eight. Then the last one is going to be reverse rear delt flies. Is going to be around four sets of 15. We're doing that, and then finish off with some biceps, right? Because bicep is a accessory muscle that helps with pulling. So we're going to do bicep curls for four sets of 12, and then you just made a push workout, a pull workout, and then you can pretty much do the same thing with a leg workout, which is again going to be just handpicking from that big guy, just fragmented up to a smaller mini version of workouts. Which the downside of these doing little smaller workouts is that you still have to hit the twice a week frequency to get maximum growth. Because let's say you do push on Monday, pull on Tuesday, and legs on Wednesday. The next day, Thursday is going to be push for you again, because only then you're going to have that twice a week frequency. So Thursday is going to be push again. Friday is going to be pull again, and Saturday is going to be legs again. So it's a more of a time commitment that you can do, but you just go to the gym more, but the workout itself is going to be shorter, right? So if you just want to find an excuse to go out to the gym, that's a great way that you can do. um, you know, single leg squats. I'm just gonna put that. I'm not gonna put a specific squat movement. It's up to you to choose whatever you want to do. Let's say four sets of 10 jump squats. Four sets of 10. How much was it? Jump squats? Four sets of 10. Yeah, four sets of 10. And then you can pretty much, now with the legs, you can pretty much incorporate other exercises like, let's say, calf raises. Calf raises is where you train calves. I know a lot of people don't do calves because it just say it's not productive or not, but I think doing calves is important because, when you're running, when you're doing sports, calf is the muscle that pretty much supports your movement as well. And you can do, let's say, one more leg exercise that you can put, let me think, hip thrust. Yes. A lot of the guys don't do hip thrust because, they just thought the movement itself looks weird, but hip thrust is absolutely important for your glutes and your hamstrings, and thrusting power is key, especially if you're doing really explosive sports, right? Hip thrust. Again, I just made 3 different workouts just from this big one, right? So this is what I mean by reiteration. You can reiterate it as much as you can. You can do upper, lower, push, pull leg, whatever it is, but depending on how you reiterate it is going to alter how many hours that you're going to spend in the gym and how many days are you going to go to the gym. But then again, this gives you the idea of how we can change our program, right? That's why I say it's easier for you and it's very time flexible for you. So whether you want to be like a introvert who doesn't go to the gym that much like me, or if you have other responsibilities like you want to do sports and you only just want to lift weights twice a week, or you not lift weights but you actually just want to do like resistance training for 2 times a week, it's also absolutely perfect. Or you just want to live in the gym, right? 6 days a week, go for the push, pull, leg as well. So this is what I mean by reiteration. And let's move on to how and why I program the workout this way. Fixed sets and specific reps. So by talking in this point, we're going to focus on 3 points: frequency, volume, and intensity. For the frequency, I tend to lean towards twice a week frequency, which is proven to stimulate the most amount of muscle growth. Frequency is pretty much saying how many times do you train a specific muscle or a specific movement during the week. So twice a week, meaning you train this movement 2 times in a week, right? So in a study in 2016, it shows that when trainers are split into 3 groups, and they compare the results of hypertrophy, the group that is higher in frequency, group 2 and group 3, produce more growth than the one who only did once a week. And there is minimal difference that is shown between group 2 and group 3, which is twice a week training and 3 times a week training. So I choose twice a week training, 2 times a week, because it also gives us enough room for the central nervous system to rest and recover. And I specifically choose full body because when you do full body twice a week, you pretty much have 4 days, even no, not 4 days. You would pretty much have 5 days that are resting in between. So you can really go into the gym and like crush the workout. But even then, if you were to do a upper lower split, you still have 3 days of rest during the whole week. Or if you want to do other sports, you have more time to do so as well. But twice a week has been doing really good in terms of recovery for me as well. And also it's proven to produce the most amount of growth. And the structure of this workout is to not only promote growth but to save time as well. Twice a week, you only have to be in the gym 2 times a week, 4 hours maximum, 4 to 5 hours maybe, depending on your rest time, how you would do the workout itself. But that's the only amount of commitment that you have to put in order to make the most amount of progress. And the second point is the volume of the movements, right? So most scientific research has shown that 10 sets and 20 sets is relatively stimulate for growth, but over 20 sets gives us diminishing returns of growth. I have found a research with a graph where they tested out different sets, and the more it went over 20 sets, the curve went down, I believe. If I'm not wrong, I would put it up in the screen somewhere. But even in the study, again, it shows that according to the results of the review, the range of 12 to 20 sets per muscle group may be the optimum standard recommendation for increased muscle hypertrophy in young trained men. So this study is pretty much saying that the participants of this survey was divided into 3 groups: low frequency, moderate frequency, and high frequency. So in some muscle groups, it didn't have much difference. However, in some muscle groups, especially the isolation or the smaller muscle groups like biceps, triceps, and shoulders, they have significant muscle groups in if we train between 12 to 20. So I believe with my workout program, it's specifically designed for 16 sets per muscle group per week, which again, it falls in between 12 to 20. And I think it has this room of recovery as well, because I'm really focusing on recovery as it is one of the factors that is promoting growth as well. And there are other things like time management and also the central nervous system to really recover as well. So 16 sets will be the great sweet spot for us. Let's talk about the next point, which is going to be the intensity. So intensity of this is given around 75 to 90% per each exercise, leaving room for recovery while making out growth. So again, this curve pretty much shows the benefit that we have from training with the specific amount of repetition. So it's if we train 1 to 5 rep max, it's going to be more stimulating towards growth. I would personally do heavy lifts like squats, bench, deadlift, uh, deadlift. What else? Pull-ups, weighted pull-ups in this category. But with hypertrophy, I would do incline bench, lat pull downs. What else? Leg press, hack squat, all of these things I would do in hypertrophy. And for endurance, I would just do like push-ups, regular pull-ups, and like even let's say shoulder endurance, which would be include lateral raise around 15 reps and whatnot, right? But all of this part, especially if you are training for hypertrophy around 8 to 12 reps, it pretty much falls into the 75 to 80, 90% of our maximum capacity, which again is the more you lean towards 90, the more strength you're going to gain. The more you go towards 75 is when you are going to build more muscle. But if you're not going to go lower than 75, because if you go lower, you're going to be more over this endurance side, which is good if you are trying to prepare for a fight, or if you're doing specific sports like soccer or kickboxing, anything like that. You need muscle endurance as well. But in terms of training and in terms of muscle growth and strength gains, I would recommend you to stay between 75 to 90% intensity of our maximum. So these are the mistakes that I have made. Um, so let's talk about the first thing, which is not tracking the progress and not overloading enough. So overloading is pretty much meaning that you push yourself. So when we go to the workout, I have given you guys the progressions that you should do. So, for example, for body weight rows, I told you to focus on the form, and I mentioned that it should be hard to progress fast. So, 1 rep increment per week would be enough. The same thing with, let's say, single leg squat. You should increase 1 to 2 reps every single week, which pretty much is telling you to push harder every time you go into the gym, right? Every time you train, I want you to push harder. And this is the mistake that most people make, and I myself make, is I caught up in this whole feeling of being comfortable in the same rep range for a prolonged amount of time, which stunts our growth, right? And if we don't have the progression, if we don't overload ourselves, if we don't push ourselves, we're not going to grow. That is as simple as that, right? That's number one tip that I have experienced, especially with home workouts. It's relatively even harder to progressively overload, because you only have limited amount of materials or things to actually support on your progressive overload. Because let's say you're not using a actual dumbbell, you're using a bag of books, or you're not actually adding weight to the bar. Instead, you're increasing the rep, you're focusing more on the form. So it's a little bit harder to progressive overload. But I think being like having this difficulty is a good thing, so that when you are actually going to go to the gym and be serious, it's going to really make things a lot easier for you, right? The second part is not going to failure in some sets, not all of the sets, some sets. So there are certain type of exercises that's easier to go to failure, and there are certain type of exercises that is harder to go on failure. Let's compare bench press and lateral raise. Lateral raise is easier to go to failure because you're not using a heavy amount of weight. You're using 2 dumbbells and you're just raising your arm, which is relatively simple in terms of biomechanics, right? You're just pretty much raising your arm. But in bench press, however, it's completely different things. You have over hundreds of pounds on top of the bar. You have to lift off You have to squeeze your back, put your elbow in a slightly tucked position. You have to squeeze the bar, almost bend it, and then you have to arch your back and then pull the weight down. See, oh, you see all of this complex biomechanics makes it harder to go to failure. But I'm not saying not to push yourself, but it's not recommended for you to go to failure in these. However, in isolation movements like bicep curl, tricep extensions, lateral raise, leg press, chest press machines, dumbbell incline press, these things with simpler biomechanics, or these things that are specifically made to target a specific muscle group, it is it is important for you to go to failure in these things, especially let's say if you're in the gym, if you're doing if you are doing a machine chest press, you should definitely go to failure. At home, if you, let's say if you are doing lateral raises, you should definitely go to failure. If you are doing bicep curls, you should. Tricep extensions, you should. However, with dips, single leg squats, push-ups, yes, you want to push to your maximum capacity. However, you should be more cautious of pushing to failure, and because there is some type of risk involving there. However, I would argue that the risk is pretty low compared to when you're in the gym. All right, so the third tip is not tracking your protein or neglecting your diet. This is one of the biggest struggles that actually stalled my growth the most, because I lived with my mom and I literally ate what she made, right? So it's wholesome to say, like, when someone asks you, bro, what do you eat? And you just say like, I eat what my mom makes, and it's kind of wholesome, and it's a good thing. But you should at least track what you're eating. You should at least know how many grams of protein, or at least you should be able to estimate how many grams of protein in a certain type of food. Just so that with these basic knowledge, you should know the basics of do's and don'ts. And just by knowing the basics, it's going to make a big difference. So definitely learn about protein. Definitely learn about the fat content, and definitely learn about the ingredients in the food. Especially try to read the food label. And general rule of thumb is, if you see two or three ingredients that you cannot even spell or you have no idea about, just don't eat it. Things like red 40, blue 6, yellow 5, whatever the hell that these things are, don't eat it, right? But again, the general rule of thumb is try to learn the basics about nutrition and then progress from there. And then the last part is not caring about your sleep, because sleep is one of the slept on, all right, slept on component of actually promoting growth, not only for your muscle, but also for your central nervous system. I experienced like this thing last week where I had more sleep, right? And then surprisingly, and not surprisingly, I actually break my plateau on bench press just because I slept well for the whole week. So if you're not going to sleep enough, it's going to increase your catabolism, which is the opposite of metabolism, which is the growth. Metabolism pretty much helps you to grow, and that's the function. Metabolism is like the destroyer of the metabolism, right? And once you're neglecting your sleep, not only it will reduce your muscle mass, it's going to accumulate more fat gain. It's going to make you look more fluffy, and it's going to impair your recovery, especially if you are really pushing. Is You're going to feel it, right? And impaired recovery is something that you don't want to experience. So definitely fix your sleep. That's something that I still struggle up to this day, because I have so many responsibilities like work, school, assignments, and my home stuff. However, I cannot give any excuse, because if I want to grow, I have to fix it. That is a non-negotiable thing, right? So this is the generalized advice. So these advices are the things that I wish someone told me when I'm starting on when I'm starting on my fitness journey. So the first thing is follow the 80-20 rule. So try, when you're eating certain type of diet, try to think, try to eat 80% of food that are healthy, 80% of food that are whole, and then fill your 20% with your craving. Fulfill that 20% with your craving, because we are all humans and sometimes we also want to escape. So you give that 20% some room for that cravings. However, there are certain type of food cravings and there are certain options that are better than the other. All right. Instead of, let's say, just eating sweets, I would recommend you eat protein bars. Instead of drinking Starbucks, I would recommend you drink a protein shake. Right? These are the things that you should weigh in on which is more important and then choose the better option. But again, 80-20 rule works for me the most. I try to eat 80% clean, whole food as much as I can, and then 20% I would have like apple pie or something like that, right? Because I have a sweet tooth and I love to fulfill my craving as well. And then the other thing is avoid anything that has chemicals in its ingredients. So whenever you buy some food, you read the food label, and once you see weird chemical names that a lab scientist would know, then you will want to avoid these foods. All right. Let's say in a potato, there is no other thing but a potato. But in a frozen French fry, there is going to be preservatives in there. There's going to be seed oils in there. So you will want to avoid these food that has a unnatural amount of ingredients in there, right? The other thing is eat based food as much as possible. Based food is pretty much saying food with simple ingredients, which would be, let's say, a steak, which is pretty much a flap of beef, right? Or let's say fried rice, which will be rice, eggs, some soy sauce, and some salt and some eggs, right? If you want to be fancy, you put some meat. But again, this is somewhat base, right? But then food that are not based would be Takis, Cheerios, Monster energy drinks, anything that is chemically made and that has chemicals in its ingredient list, you would want to avoid it. The other thing is avoid most of seed oils. I know this sounds as simple as you might think, but seed oils are everywhere. Wherever you go to a healthy place or wherever you home cook your food, there are going to be seed oils in some way or the other. So try to avoid using seed oil, especially the oil that you cook. You want to avoid that. I would recommend coconut oil for a better alternative. If you can afford buy an olive oil, avocado oil, the best thing is butter. You will want to use butter, but if you're vegan or whatnot, and you can eat meat or you can eat like cow products, use coconut oil, extra virgin coconut oil, uh, olive oils, avocado oils, grape. I would argue grape seed is a little bit iffy, but try not to use like this healthy heart granola oil or any some weird stuff. Right? Don't do that. And the last part is protein consumption. How much protein then should you consume? So the protein consumption is going to be 0.8 grams of protein per pound of body weight. You can go for 1 pound of protein per body weight, or even go more than that. But I would recommend 0.8 grams of protein is a great sweet spot. Or there's another way that I'm experimenting right now, which is that you take your body weight, you subtract 20 to 30 from your body weight, and then you get a certain number. So for me, I'm right now at 150. I would subtract 25, right? So 20 to between 20 and 30. So I will subtract 25 from it. That will leave me with 125, the number 125, and that number is going to be the amount of protein that I should at least consume. At least is the key word. Don't go lower than that, because that I wouldn't recommend it, right? If you're bulking, maybe, but even then, I would still not recommend it, right? Just get at least 0.8 grams of protein per pound of body weight, or do the other method that I just mentioned. For cutting, you should want to eat more protein, because cutting is a very mentally tasking thing, especially if you are hungry with the food. If you're hungry from cutting food, right? You want to feel satiated, and protein is the thing that makes you feel satiated. So you want to eat more protein, especially when you're trying to want to lose weight more. And important tips for success. All right. This part is more of a mentality that you want to have, right? So in this part, I'm just going to give you advices that are more personal and that comes from my ideas more, right? So the first thing is don't listen to your mind. You are stronger than you think. Because humans are naturally more comfort seeking since our survival times, we are most likely to lie to ourselves saying that, oh, we're too tired, we want to rest, because our body wants to be in a safe place. But in reality, your body can actually push more, right? Your body can actually push more. So you never know until you try. So I would really recommend you, if you're not feeling the will to work out, just think of it as step by step. So you would think like, okay, I'm just gonna go for a walk. Then when you're going for a walk, and then you're gonna try to walk in the direction of the gym, you wanna go into the gym, do maybe think to yourself like you're gonna do one exercise, but then once you're in the groove, then you will certainly want to work out more. So it's a small steps that you got to take, but do not be deceived by how you feel. But on the other hand, you still want to be cautious about how your body is actually feeling in terms of physicality and your biology, right? In terms of your capability to recover, you would want to like take notice of it, because if you are feeling really weak, like physically weak, you will definitely know. In that point, you should take a rest, because your health is not worth risking as well. So be cautious, but push your limits. The other part is, don't think of it as a workout. Think of it as your habit. So this point I have been mentioning in the past few videos, but I really believe that the moment you adopt the idea of being habitual, then you're more likely to stick with it, because we are what we think of. This is pretty much the law of attraction that I'm telling you. If you think that you are a habitual person that works out, you're most likely are going to work out. But if you just think like you are a person that is trying to work out, you're going to be in that mentality or in that biological state of trying, and your body is not going to do the required things to actually become habitual. So you got to brainwash yourself that you are a habitual person that works out, and you're more likely to be stick with it. The last point is, don't focus on the quality, focus on the quantity. This is specifically important for those who are really starting out, because quality, the perfect quality will never be achieved even if you're advanced, because we humans, try to seek perfection, but we ended up failing and we ended up losing hope. So instead of that, you would want to focus more on quantity. How far have I come in this journey? How much have I done? Right? Because we like to see evidence that we are progressing. We like to see evidence that we are doing something, right? We want to see something in order for us to believe. If we don't practice this part, you're not going to be able to do this part. So focus on the quantity. Even if it's a bad workout, you still want to get the workout in. Even if the workout is sloppy and you were distracted on your phone, still appreciate yourself that you did the workout. Appreciate yourself and put a tick on your wall, on your calendar, that you actually did it. And then once you are really demotivated, look back at, wow, how far have you come? And then that's going to give you a sense of fulfillment, because we are what we think of. And in order for us to think good, we have to see something. That's why quantitative success is something that promotes us to be more consistent. So yeah, this is going to be the end of the PowerPoint, or the end of my video. I know this is a super long video, but I hope you gained something from it. And I apologize for any mistakes. If you want to point out advices that you would want to, I would definitely welcome it, because in the end of the day, I'm just a guy who is trying to help you. And I'm just your friend. I'm nothing more than your friend, not a mentor, and I'll always be your friend. Until next time, see you later.